Hey guys, this is Irene, CBiz Media, Faith, Love, and Trends. We have another recap chat here, 90 Day Fiancé. This time we're going the single life. 90 Day Fiancé is a reality show that follows couples, one person from the US, the other from another country. We get to see all the crazy ups and downs and all the things that ensue with this type of dynamic. 90 Day fans know, of course, and the remnants of those couples that didn't work out, they get to be on Single Life. So let's get into this episode of Single Life, starting with Gino and Natalie. Gino says this time things will be better. So they're picking up where they left off with Natalie because he wasn't being honest with her about the other women that he was just talking with, keeping his options open, so to speak. And she wasn't prepared for that. She wanted them to kind of focus on what they were doing at the moment, but he says he thinks she's the one, and he invites her to come to Michigan. So he picks her up at the airport, and he's saying, there's gonna be no other women right now. So she said she thought she was done with him, but she said, I realized we weren't in an exclusive relationship, so he also opened up and was apologetic and transparent, and maybe he's changed. And she said, well, I can't stay mad at Gino for very long. I'm like, either she's really desperate or she's really in love with Gino. I think this is going to be an easy win for Gino, honestly. She looks like she's up and open and ready for whatever's going to happen. So they're in Michigan. Shout out to the D. They're walking on the Riverwalk. Those from Detroit know. There's like a little like, I don't know if they call it a pond or it's like when the water trickles down, and it's a kind of a man-made water sculpture type thing. Well, she goes and stands in that and saying, I need to cool off. So she's like goofing around, standing in this structure, which I don't even know if that's legal, but Gino follows her into this structure and they're goofing around. They start playing in the water. She gets wet. They're just kind of doing some weird stuff, right? But they're having fun, okay? He lets her know, okay, he's by the water with her. This is a romantic setting. He's like, I want to focus on you. And she said, well, it's only been 2 weeks since they had talked about things changing. So she was a little surprised. He said he just wants to focus on her. She says that he has to show her the evidence and the receipts. Sure, he does. I think you're going to be easy to win over. She's excited and believes he deserves a chance. So they both seem to be pretty happy at this point. But we find out that neither of them have slept together yet. Even in this whole situation when he was with Jasmine, all of that time they haven't slept together yet. I'm a little surprised on that, but I think it's a good call, especially for Natalie. You don't want to sleep with a married man or a man that's going through divorce, separated, whatever he was doing. But should she even be in a relationship with him at all at this point? That can be questionable. So, meeting Uncle Marco there, they stop at the Coney. Again, Detroiters know, Michiganders know. And meeting his Uncle Marco there. And they kind of talk it out. We find out she has grown kids. I know one she said was 21. It sounds like they're both like in their early 20s. And so they're eating the Conies, and I'm like, you guys seem like you're doing a Coney commercial. Did you guys get sponsors from them or what? The uncle seems to like her. She does seem very agreeable. And he says the thing he notices that when she talks, he smiles. When he talks, she smiles. Something like that. I might have mixed it up, but they smile while each other is talking, basically. And he didn't see that with Gino, with Jasmine. Sorry, I'm mixing up the words, guys. He didn't see that with his relationship with Jasmine. So they started asking about kids. I mean, Uncle Marco, why is he opening this door so fast? And, it sounds like she's not really up for any children. And Gino sounds like he wants one. And she's kind of like acting as if she's got the door open, but I think it's probably closed pretty shut. Uncle says, hey, you look so young. You look like you're in your 20s yourself. But he said when it comes to having a kid, he said he's going to go get the room for them. So again, Uncle Marco's pushing things too fast. While Gino steps off, she asks the question, is he capable of not talking to other women? He says, Uncle Marco says if he finds the right woman, he will definitely be all with that woman. He'll be all in. So she's happy to hear that information. He says, he's quirky, but he has a lot of heart. And she says, well, I like that he has a lot of heart. He starts to cry over his nephew, saying basically his nephew is a really good guy. He's been through a lot. I thought that was a sweet moment. That says a lot if your relative cries over you in a good way. Does he still love Jasmine was also a great question that she asked. She's doing her homework. I respect that. And he's basically saying, no, there's nothing there. There's no love there. Which gives her hope. But again, she's saying she's cautious. So Uncle Marco saying you need to lock this one up. We say, well, I have to get my divorce. So he said, get your divorce and lock it up. Well, hopefully he's nearing the end of the divorce process. Speaking of divorce, there's too many people on here that are like in between divorces, getting divorced. Should they be dating is the question. And that's what Pedro's mother is going to ask momentarily. So I have a question for you guys. Should you be dating someone that is in the middle of a divorce? They still need to heal. There's other things that need to be done. I was dating someone that was supposedly in the middle of a divorce. Coming to find out that they were just separated for long term. There was no actual divorce paperwork signed up. So if somebody is in between relationships that, especially if it was a marriage, I think you should tell that person to heal first and come back to you with the divorce papers. Because it all depends. I mean, it could be legitimate, like it sounds like Gino is really getting divorced. But you don't know, some of these people may just be separated. Some of these people may still be in their marriage and want to get divorced, but saying they're divorced. So you have to be very cautious. And since, he's on TV, you kind of know his situation with his relationship is a little bit more open than some people are able to hide more of what there's going on with their relationship. But I say if someone's in between marriages, going through a divorce, maybe friends from afar, but I can't say that I'm going to have a regular continuous dating relationship with someone that is still in that process and still really needs to heal. That's my personal opinion from what I went through. All right, guys, let's kick it to Kim, Jamal, and Larry. Larry, the adopted son that we recently found out that Kim not only gave up one child, but two children in her relationship, that it never became marriage, but she had 3 kids altogether with this guy. She really stuck it out with him. But sadly, in between each child, he was not there for her. She ended up giving 2 of her children up for adoption. So she's going to break the news to her new son. Larry's not her new son, but he just found her recently. And like I said, she has to break this news. She has to actually break the news to Larry that he actually has another sibling that was adopted away. It was a closed adoption, so no one knows anything about this daughter. So this is a good ride that TLC can take us on. This show seems like it's turning into something else because she has a lot of drama, and just like if you're in the middle of divorce, you got a lot of drama. So it's like, are you really ready to live that single life and date at that time? In a way, she's kind of letting us know that no, she's not ready. She has a lot of family business to attend to. So they're at the family picnic. Jamal says his heart is beating out of his chest, waiting for them to arrive. Larry and the family, and being the little boy grandson that she seems to have a shine to. Larry lets us know that he did a DNA test, and that's how he found her. He found one of his cousins, and that led him to find Kim. And it's been cool getting to know them as far as what Jamal has said. Mom's having a panic attack in between. He doesn't really want to. Jamal is dealing with this as well. Doesn't want to break the news. He just met his new brother, so he didn't want to feel like he was hiding something from his new brother. So after they give their pleasantries and say hello, she breaks the news. She can't take it anymore. She explains the situation and asks them not to hate her as she's kind of really crying profusely. And let him basically know that she was alone trying to raise this child that she wasn't able to raise. So she just gave the child up to adoption. And he said he won't hate her. Little Bean goes over and hugs her. Again, she lets them know that there's no information on this sister. So it's a lot. Larry says this is a lot going on, but he's not mad. He's like, she's my birth mother. She helped bring me life, even though she wasn't in his life. He is happy that the fact that because she could have, aborted, which many people abort their children in those situations. So he's glad that she even just gave birth to him so that he can now have his family, his wife, his kids. So he feels like he owes her a lot. And that's like a good outlook to have, because some people, and I'll say that I understand if you have a negative outlook, because it can be painful to be put up for adoption. It's obvious. But it's good that he has such a positive outlook on this situation. And I'm glad he was in a good home with good people that raised him well as well. So she said once she told him, her maternal feelings came back as far as she was feeling like mama again, to this child that she's now hasn't seen his whole life, but is now really feels like mom to this child she reunited with. And she says she's glad she can be something to him. She's not the one that raised him, but she's glad that she's in his life. And Jamal says he's proud of her. So that was like a heartwarming moment. That was a good part of the show. Has nothing to do with being single, but I liked this. Maybe they could have gave Kim her own show. Honestly, I would have watched that. We can watch some of the stuff Jamal does too with his little boy band. I mean, I could see them having Kim and Jamal having their own little segment, like they had the House Chantel or the Family Chantel or whatever. I mean, I don't know what they would call it, but I'd be into that. I don't know if it really fits into the single life, but hey, they're getting screen time. They have an interesting story, so I'm in for the watch. Finally, the pièce de résistance. I don't know what that word means, but I know finally this is the moment you've been waiting for. This is the big thing. Pedro brings Sophie to meet his mom and sister. We know how messy the two of them are. We know how hard it was for Chantel to deal with them. So let's see how Sophie does. So Pedro, he picks up the girls minus Liz. Her and Sophie and Liz are still on the outs because she believes that Liz, said some things to Pedro to set her up and make her look bad. Pedro was misleading, and I'm still not cool with the fact that he was. I don't know if he's ever going to get called out for that. I guess we'll see. So he arrives, picks them up, brings some fresh coconuts. They just stick their straw in and they're drinking fresh coconut. It seems fun. They're going to his sister's birthday. So this is like her birthday party, and they're taking a whole trip there. It's going to take a while. And she says she's cool with Pedro now. She thinks he's cool. There's no pressure. They left Liz a message because she really hasn't spoken to her, like I said. She is nervous about meeting the mom and the sister. And she put her most respectful outfit on. She looks very nice, but it's still a little sexy, but I don't think it's too bad. she's saying, he's asking her, well, she's asking them, well, what'll happen if, they don't really like me? Or what are you going to do? Are you going to be like gone? He's like, see ya. And then he was like, I'm joking, but kind of, I don't think he was, because we'll see what happens next. He knows that they're savage and his sister is crazy. And he basically puts it all out there to Sophie, and she's even more fearful of meeting them. It's hugs all around, but but his sister, she does not hug Sophie on camera. From what I see, she says, "You're making my brother suffer." And at first it sounds kind of like she's joking around a bit. It's her birthday, but Sophie's taking this to heart, right? So then they go do shots. Mom has her opinion about Sophie. The first meeting, she says she looks average. She has the voluptuous body, and that's kind of what Pedro looks for, but she's just really an average woman. And Pedro is just kind of taking in over the body. That's what's in it for him. And I do see that he has a type. I do see similarity between Sophie and Chantel, their body type. In a way, their looks on some level are similar. So Mom is like making some comments and speaking in Spanish, and she says she speaks a little. I think she knows it pretty well, but I don't think she understands the references of what they're saying. So she asks Pedro, takes him to the side. He said, well, the reason that everybody's saying you don't like me yet is because you haven't tasted me. And, she was kind of disgusted by the fact that that's what she was saying. And she feels that they're being disrespectful to her basically the whole night. And she said, I can only take so much, so she may go off. She says she suffers and deals with anxiety. She lets Pedro know that. So Pedro acts like, I'm going to have your back, right? So Mom ends up taking her again over with them, and they're getting food and all of that. And she gets personal with Mom and tells her basically that, I'm taking my time with Pedro just because I'm trying to heal from my divorce. And so Mom calls her out and says, well, you're still technically married. You really shouldn't be dating him. So now she's kind of upset that Mom called her out on that. And she said, she didn't want to argue with her, but she wasn't happy about that. For me, I would say I wouldn't have told her that part. You're just meeting the family. Yeah, I wouldn't have even got that detailed as far as, and maybe she was doing that just so she can show that she's an honest person, because Pedro may have already said something, so maybe she felt she had to say something. I don't know. For me, I'll say for a first meeting, I wouldn't do that. I think she is smart by taking it slow. She doesn't want to end up in another bad marriage, but also, again, she's married, so sleeping with him is probably a bad idea. To sleep with someone while you're still married, it doesn't matter if you've been separated for such and such time. To me, it's still, in my opinion, you're disrespecting the marriage as long as the marriage is still on paper. And some people have different opinions, but that's mine. And that's the mom's opinion, but it's just the way that she's coming at her. And honestly, I think Sophie set herself up by divulging that information. She's like, well, his family should want him happy after his failed marriage. So she doesn't understand why they're acting the way that they are doing. The girls kind of do a birthday dance. Julia takes the birthday girl to the middle of the room, and the girls kind of do a sexy dance. And Sophie says, this whole time, the mom and the sister there a lot. Her sister goes and talks to Sophie. She said, well, the cake is good and all of that. And they kind of get into some things here, and Sophie's kind of losing it at this point. They're arguing, and she says, I'm trying to be nice to your bleeping mom. And by using that expletive in front of their mom, the name of their mom particularly, that really gets his sister fired up. And so the arguing continues until they're both kind of yelling each other down. And I have to say that Sophie holds her own very well. She's using expletives I don't think she should use. She's basically saying they're weird. The family's weird. She uses the F word from the mom's name. I know. So she says that they're trying to scare her away. So I don't know if Pedro makes them leave the party, but he gets them a ride so they can go leave. And she was like, I was completely letting him know I was completely respectful to your mom. But he's like, no, you said my bleep mom. And she was like, no, I was respectful. He's like, okay, all right, whatever. So he's not hearing that. And he closes the door and Sophie's like, that's why you're probably going to be alone forever just because of this situation. Something like that. Like, that's probably why you're not going to be with anyone and you're not going to be in a relationship because of those two. And yeah, I agree. It was messy. It was good. It was great to watch. It was great to see Sophie hold her own. And Pedro's falling back to be the guy that we've seen him be before. Nothing has changed. He's kind of slimy. He's kind of a mama and sister's boy on some level. So I don't know how I feel about this. I'm thinking that for me, if I was Sophie, I would leave while I can. There's no apologies. There's no, and even though I think Sophie was out of line for using that expletive in front of their mom's title, I still think that Pedro is not ever going to really be on her side, and especially if they're not getting along with the family. She's not getting along with the sister and the mom. He's gonna basically throw her under the bus like he did Chantel. So honestly, history is repeating itself. You should just walk away. That's my final thoughts, guys. That's 90 Day Fiancé, the single life. This is Irene. We'll talk again. Faith, love, and trends. CBiz Media. Thoughts, comments, questions, email me at cbiztv@yahoo.com. Let's go to cbiztvmedia.com if you want to check us out on other platforms. Again, I'll talk to you later. All the best and God bless.